Hey everyone, it is Daki, and thank you so much for coming back to the channel, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. So we're done with the rogues, and we're done with looking at all three specs of the rogues leading into Battle for Azeroth. So today I decided to look at the mages, and in particular the Arcane Mage to start with. So the Arcane Mage for me in Legion and in past expansions has always been a solid choice just to have fun with, pick up and see how it works. But it has never been a class or spec I have mained in an expansion. Due to its very simplistic nature, you get a little bit bored. Why I get a little bit bored over, say, a 10-minute boss fight. However, in world content and in dungeon content, I've had absolutely no problem with the Arcane Mage. So, with that ado, let's just go through and have a quick look at any class or any class changes, spec changes, sorry, in particular, and then we'll move on to what's been added and removed, and then followed up by the talents. So I will say straight off the bat, yes, it is still beta. There are going to be changes flowing through the pipeline, and there will be changes coming down for the Arcane Mage. I'm pretty sure of it. And I say this because there has been very little changes overall. A couple of tweaks or quality of life changes, so to speak. So as we're moving down through here, guys, all you're going to see is a couple of word changes, percent changes, attack or spell power changes. But there is a few things I want to talk about, and one in particular is Arcane Blast. So Arcane Blast now, it used to increase the damage done by 60% per charge you gained, and mana cost by 125% per charge. Now, it still increases the damage by 60% per charge, but the mana cost only goes up by 100%, but it also reduces the cast time by 8% per charge. Very, very cool. And when we get to the talents, we'll see how one of the talents is going to work really well with Arcane Blast as we move forward. So the only other real change I wish to announce here, guys, is your displacement now has a limited range of 40 yards, where it was previously unlimited. Now, displacement was the a talent that you could, the ability from when you blinked, you would basically teleport all the way back to where you first blinked within a certain time frame. It used to be unlimited. Now, I know from experience going up against some Horde and some Alliance on PvP, and I would see a mage, and it would be an Arcane Mage, and they would be running around like crazy. You'd fire off a couple of spells, or you'd go and attack it, and it would just disappear. Obviously, they use displacement, and they would go so far back it wouldn't be funny. So that's just a couple of changes. Now, as we move forward, oh, here we go. So here's the removed abilities and gained abilities. Now, what's being removed with the Arcane Mage? Well, amplification is being removed. Well, not necessarily removed, but however, it is being redone, and we'll cover that in a second. Words of Power is being completely removed, and I can understand why that's being removed. It never was taken. So, what is being added back to the spec? Well, amplification has been added back, but it has been reworded and redone, and we'll cover that in the talents in a second. Rules of 3. Now, this is a talent that I'm assuming is to replace Words of Power, and we'll cover that in the talents as well. Other than that, guys, that is the limit to the changes done to the Arcane Mage. There really is not a lot. Like I said, there is a lot of percent or spell power changes, and this is, you're going to see this for every single spec, and this is wholly and solely for the stat squish and to make everything competitive and the damage numbers to be competitive. So with that said, let's take a look at the Arcane Mage talents leading into Battle for Azeroth so far. So, on level 15, we have the new Rules of 3 talent. Now, this is when you gain your third Arcane Charge, the cost of your next Arcane Blast or Arcane Missiles is reduced by 100%. So, as you recall from the Arcane Blast, as I spoke about just before, your mana cost for Arcane Blast goes up by 100% now per every charge you have. So, what this means is, for every time you use Arcane Blast, after the third Arcane Charge, you're only going to be taxed basically for 3 charges, not 4 charges. This overall talent will increase the amount of Arcane Blasts you can do within a period or window period. So very interesting to see how this is going to work, or if this is going to be changed before Battle for Azeroth launches. Amplification, as you can see, amplification is still here, just been reworded. When clear cast, arcane missiles fire 1 additional missile. This is very similar to the priest, the disciplined priest's ability with their penance, where it fires an additional penance over the duration. Arcane Familiar. Now, I am so thankful that Blizzard did not remove this. I'm sure there was a lot of people that did want this removed, as it was just a passive. It's a buff, really, but it was really not taken that much when you looked at Warcraft logs and had a look at who was taking what in dungeons and in raid content. But it is what it is. It does summon a little arcane ball of power, and it increases your mana, your maximum mana, by 10%. For an hour. Now, I think this is pretty cool, especially right at the limits of an end raid tier or at the end content, I would say. This is really good because 10% of a large mana pool obviously is better than 10% of a small mana pool. And if our mana pool is going to increase over the duration of this expansion, well, this could start becoming better and better as time progresses on. Well, that said, let's have a look at level 30 talents now. It hasn't really changed. You still have Mana Shield, you still have Shimmer, you have Slipstream. Now, they're pretty much the same. Not going to cover too much there. Level 45, Incanter's Flow, pretty much the same. As you can see, there is a couple of percent changes there. So it builds up to 20% increased damage, diminishing down to 4% damage, and cycles every 10 seconds. Mirror Images are still there, the bread and butter of all mages. I highly doubt they're ever going to get rid of Mirror Images for any mage spec. And Rune of Power, obviously, is still here for the Arcane Mage. Moving on to level 60 talents, we have Renaissance. Now, this is exactly the same. Arcane Barrage deals 15% increased damage per target it hits. Charged Up is the same, and Supernova is exactly the same. Level 75, we have Chrono Shift. Arcane Barrage slows enemies by 50% and increases your movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. Pretty decent PvP talent there. Ice Ward Frost Nova now has 2 charges, and Ring of Frost is exactly the same, Ring of Frost. Now, level 90, Erosion, Unstable Magic, and Nether Tempest. Guys, once again, exactly the same. Nothing here has changed. I really would like Blizzard, if you could, to increase the damage of Nether Tempest. Now, I understand that it is fantastic for extreme amounts of mobs, but when you're pulling 3 or 4 mobs at a time, there really is no AoE option other than your Arcane Blast, Arcane Explosion. I understand that, but Nether Tempest is such a cool ability. I really wish it would do significant damage, and as you can see there, the damage is increased by 60% per arcane charge as well, which is pretty good. So level 100 talents here, guys. We still have Overpowered. It has not changed at all. We have Temporal Flux. Now, this is fairly cool. Now, 5 seconds after evocation ends, you gain its effect again. I like that. I really do like the way that is worded, and I'd love to see how that works in the BFA. Now, Arcane Orb is, well, it's exactly the same. It's an Arcane Orb. It launches it towards the enemy, traveling up to 40 yards, dealing damage, and gaining arcane charges as it moves through mobs. Well, there's your talents for, or the first look at the talents for the Arcane Mage in Battle for Azeroth. Guys, overall, how is the Arcane Mage going to feel in Battle for Azeroth? Well, I say this all the time. If you're going to like it in Legion, you're going to like it in Battle for Azeroth. The way that all this is worded, the way this is presented to us so far, it does have an absolute feel like they're focusing on management. And I say this because a lot of things are percent of your base mana. So I have a feeling that you're going to be looking at your mana a lot more. You're going to be focusing on how many charges you have. You're going to be thinking about when to use those charges on and what on, basically. But overall, the way that this will play is pretty much the same as in Legion. So guys, that is it. That is the first look at the Arcane Mage in Battle for Azeroth. I would love to thank you guys for coming and watching these videos. It is great to see a lot of people watching these. Down in the description down below, I do have a Discord link. Come and join that Discord. We are generally always there. Throw up questions if you've got questions. If I've missed anything, that place there is the best way to reach me. But overall, guys, thank you so much and have a great day.